All right. So um, I will. I'm going to talk about the test a little bit here in just a minute, but I want to talk. We're going to talk about the cerebral cortex and continuing on with how how the brain works. And while that is a mystery, we're just going to talk about a little bit about how um, just how the brain is divided a little bit today. Like, what are the parts and what that looks like. So, who can tell me something about the brain, like how it's divided? Does anybody know anything about the brain and how it's
All I know
divided?
is to move your right arm, you think with your left brain, the left side of your brain. That's all I know.
That well, I mean that's true, right? And y'all didn't hear that. I mean, one side of the brain controls one side of the body, one the other side, and you. A lot of people would think that right side of the brain controls the right side of the body, left side of the brain controls the left side of the body, but that's not true. It's the opposite sides control the opposite side of the body.
Is there a reason for
So,
that, or just how it is?
from my understanding, that's just how it is, and that's how. I'm sure there's some scientific reason, but I am the wrong person to ask because I don't know. But that's a great question. Okay? So email me the question. If you don't find, email me the question. I'll find an answer. Okay? All right? Because I don't know. All right? I'm not even going to try to make up an answer. Like, I don't know. Okay? But um, so that's a great question. So when if any of y'all ever go to college, all right, try to have great questions like that and stump your professor. Right? Like, always try to have great questions and ask them something that they don't know, and watch them scramble and try to make up an answer. Right? The really great professors will be like, I don't know. Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. All right. Okay. So anyway, the cerebral cortex, right? So we want to look at that and just see what that looks like. So when you talk about the cerebral cortex, we're talking about kind of what the brain looks like. You know what that looks like, right? Think of kind of the outer core of it, and it's all wrinkly, right? That's what we think of. That's the cerebral cortex, okay? And so that's what the brain looks like. But it's divided into two sections, okay? They're called cerebral hemispheres, and they're connected by just a band of neural fibers called the corpus callosum, okay? Corpus callosum, okay? Sometimes words are difficult, but sometimes my handwriting is difficult. And so this is one of those times when it's really my handwriting. But last night when I was writing my notes, I found something very interesting about myself. Okay, and I'm sitting there and I'm writing my notes and I'm thinking, I'm going, and then all of a sudden I just start like drawing a line and so my thought process is going, but my brain's thinking of something, but my hand can't keep up with what I'm thinking. Does anybody else have this problem?
Yep.
Just no.
I don't think that much.
Okay, there's a disconnect there. Anyway, sorry, chase the rabbit. I'll get back on the point. Okay, all right. So anyway, the corpus callosum, right? This allows the left and right hemisphere to communicate, right? They talk to each other, right? In each hemisphere, right, it's divided into 4 sections. Okay, and each hemisphere is responsible for the opposite side of the body. Okay. And for control and receiving information. Okay, so they're responsible for each side and for sending and receiving information. So how is this divided? How are each hemisphere, right? So there's 2 hemispheres of the brain, right? And then there's 4 sections of each hemisphere. Okay, so there's the occipital lobe, right, and it's toward the back of the brain, and this processes vision information. Okay. Right up there. Visual information, okay? It processes what's coming in and how that is taken in, okay? There's the parietal lobes, and that's at the top of the brain, right? This is contains the somatosensory cortex, right? This processes information from the skin and the internal body receptors for like touch, temperature, and body and positioning. Okay, so you can see how, like, if something happens to this, how those receptors get messed up, right? Temperature of your body could just be jacked up and really bad, right? It kind of makes me think that, if something like COVID happens, it maybe jacks it up, and where they're seeing like how high body temperatures are. Like I saw something how somebody had COVID and their body temperature, some nurse said, I've never seen somebody's body temperature this high. So that controls that, all right? And then we have the temporal lobes, right? These are just behind the temples. Their audio cortex is found in here, and this is for language, right? For saying language, receiving language, both, okay? How we receive and how it's complex and how we deal with language, all right? That's the temporal lobes. And then there's the frontal lobes. This is, guess where the frontal lobe's at? In the front, right? It's this right here, right? It's that part of our brain that develops last, right? This is the part that isn't even fully developed in you guys, okay? Right? Won't be till about 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that area, right? It's the area that develops last, okay? It's at the front of the brain, right? It's high mental functions, right? For planning, your personality, your memory. What'd you say?
I'm still smarter though.
You're still smarter? Is that what you said? Keep telling yourself that. All right, so planning, personality, memory, storage, right? Complex decision making. All right. So this is where those things are made, right? That's why, like, young people tend to make poor decisions, right? Not all of you. No, that's not true. No, I'm not saying all of you, okay? And I'm not trying to beat y'all down. I'm just saying this. It's like we tend to, when we're younger, make poor decisions. And part of that reason is because the frontal lobe is not fully developed when we're younger. It's just not, okay? Some people more than others make poor decisions. Some of that could be attributed to the fact that the frontal lobe isn't fully developed, okay? It also can be part of the reason why our personalities change so much when we get older. Okay, like I was more introverted when I was younger, and then when I got older, and I became more extroverted and was able to get in front of people and talk and do things like this. Well, it could be just a simple biological reason for that, not because I just bucked up and got over it, but because actually my brain developed and my personality changed, and then I was able to do things differently. Okay? So don't think of where you're at now is where you're going to stay. All right? As you develop, as your brain develops, so then does your personality and your mental processing and how you do things. Okay? How your brain processes things. Okay? And so in the frontal lobe, in the left hemisphere of the frontal lobe, it processes language. And this is 90% of people process language over in that, okay? So when we talk about this, it also controls emotions. The frontal lobe also controls emotions. So in this area, like for me, I feel like I'm broken, okay? Just a personal note. Right, I feel like I'm broken sometimes because my emotions kind of get out of whack. But I've just learned to accept that this is just who I am. Yeah, why is CJ here? I don't know. But he's. I gave him a worksheet too. I was like, if you're going to be here, you got to do it. But anyway, so the frontal lobe controls emotions too, and sometimes I just feel like I'm broken in this area. But because I have a hard time controlling my emotions to some extent. And there could be physical reasons why I can't control my emotions so much. But over the years, I've learned to control them better. But in some sense, I have learned that to just accept the fact that I'm more emotional than my other male counterparts. Does that make sense? It's just kind of how I'm wired, so to speak. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So let's talk about this, the cerebral hemispheres, okay? The right brain, left brain, okay? So what can you tell me about left brain, right brain? What do y'all think about this? All right, what have you heard about this?
Left controls right, and right controls left.
Correct. This is true. You are very...
Isn't it left, or is it right brain are more artistic and left brain are more logical?
That is correct. Okay, so left brain is more logical. Right brain is more. How did you say it? Artistic. Yeah. Okay, so let me just name off a list. Okay, of some of these. Okay, and then you tell me where you think you're at. Okay. All right. Left brain. All right, is language, spoken and written, mathematical calculations, logical thought processing, analytics, reading. Okay, that's the left brain. Right brain, non-visual, visual, spatial perception, musical, artistic, emotional thought, processing the whole, pattern recognition, facial recognition. So, where do you think you're at?
In the middle.
Okay, left or right? Where do you think you're most dominant in?
Right. Can I say middle?
Right? Right?
Was right the second one?
Yeah, right is the second one.
Probably I'm wrong, right?
Okay. Where? Okay, those who have had me in class and know me, where do you think I'm at?
You're on the right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
very
Well,
easy.
he's sort of a mix of both, but
Everyone's a mix
he
of
shows
both, though, if you think about it.
I think I'm heavily right. Heavily right. I have such a hard time with math. I am logical. The only part on this is I'm logical in things and I analyze things, but everything else I have such a hard time in on the left side. The right side, all the other stuff comes very easily to me, and very heavily. So here's the thing: is Robert Sparing won a Nobel Peace Prize, okay? And what he won a Nobel Peace Prize is he discovered this. He discovered this left and right hemisphere, and showing that the brain specializes in different activities and functions in the left and right hemisphere of the brain. All right, that's what Robert Sparing did. It's the split brain research that he discovered. That's what the left and right brain are. Okay, and so when people talk, oh, I'm left brain, I'm right brain, this is what they're talking about, guys. This is what they're talking about, and so this gives us an idea of what the brain is and kind of how logical is on one side, how emotional is on one side, and it doesn't matter your gender or whatever. Some of us will be totally logical, some of us will be emotional, right? And how I just shared with y'all, like, I deal with emotions, right? It's just who I am, right? And I'm more right brain, right? There may be many of you who are left brain people. And if you know, like in my art class, right, I talked about this a lot. I talked about how I'm trying to get you to activate your right brain. You're trying to get both hemispheres to work together and do your art. And I do exercises to help you try to get both of them to communicate. Well, this is what I'm talking about right here. There's actually a way it works, and this is the process in which it works. There's a scientific method to it. I just use art exercises to get people to get both sides of their brains working together. Okay? And this is what it is. It's the cortex and how it works together. Okay? All right. Are there any questions on what I've talked about so far? This is not the anyway. These are not the droids you're looking for. Yeah. So, all right. So get working on these. I'm gonna